They fought side by side for years, bound by blood, until the gold came. One turned, but not before the other had become his equal, a warrior forged in the fires of war. For 10 long years, they'd battled the armies of the Empire, taking countless lives to avenge the same woman. For 10 long years, their blades had danced in unison. Their shields had leaned on each other for support. They were brothers in arms, brothers in loss, bound by an oath as unbreakable as the mountains that surrounded their homeland. But the years had taken their toll. Both were weary, their bodies bearing the scars of countless battles. Yet their spirits remained unbroken. That was until the gold came. It had been a hard-fought victory, a battle that had left both of them battered and bruised. But when the dust had settled and the cries of the dying had faded into the silence of the night, one of them had turned. The sight of the golden crown resting on the head of their king, the very king they had fought so hard to help enthrone, had been too much for him. In a moment of weakness, he had drawn his sword against his friend, against his brother, against the king who was now his enemy. The blade had found its mark, piercing the man's armor and tearing into his flesh as if it were made of paper. The pain had been excruciating, but it had been worth it. For in that moment, he had realized that there was no greater glory than to die for one's king and country. As he lay there dying, he had seen the shock and sorrow on the face of his friend, the betrayal he had felt. But he had also seen the determination, the unbreakable spirit that had brought them so far. And with his last breath, he had whispered, "Do not grieve for me, my friend. I have died for our king and our country." And then he had died. And yet, somehow he had survived. He didn't know how long he'd been lying there, but when he finally managed to sit up, he realized that the blade that had pierced him wasn't the one that had been meant for him. It hadn't come from the enemy. It had come from behind. He didn't know who had saved him, but he knew he had to get out of there. So he crawled away from the battlefield, away from the life he once knew, until he came across a cave hidden amidst the rocks. And in that cave, he carved his oath in stone. It wasn't an oath of revenge, but an oath of truth. He would find out who had betrayed him, who had stabbed him in the back when he had least expected it. And when he did, he would be the one to write his name in history, not as a traitor, but as a hero. His name would never burn.